Okay, so the project that we're going to make today is called "Don't Go Breaking My Heart." That is the pattern that you have downloaded, I hope. The thing that I want you to realize is that here are your instructions, and they are two-sided. So when you download those, you want to make sure you get both sides. And then you actually have two different pieces of our big heart. And this is what we're going to be appliquing down. Thing I want you to remember is that the size of paper that this was copied on is an 11 by 17. So you want to make sure that when you um, copy the hearts, that you make sure that it is an 11 by 17 inch paper that you are using, because that is how big these um, hearts are. The other thing that I want you to notice is that there's two different pieces here, two different hearts. And so on the one, it says, please use this side to trace onto your heat and bond light or whatever your favorite fusible web is. This side has been reversed. So when you look at this, it's the exact opposite of what the picture is showing you here on the heart. Excuse me. The other side is, this is the side that you can use to lay out your pieces. The other thing that I do want you to notice is that I have a center mark for the heart in both directions. So see, it says center line vertical, and then here, center line horizontal. And you want to be sure and mark that on your, when you're laying out your pieces, because I will show you when it comes time to ironing those in place, why you want to know where those marks are. So when we look at our supply list, the finished size is going to be a 20 by 20. So just to let you know that size. Now, this is a wall hanging, but you could make it into a pillow if you wanted, which would be fun as well. So you need 3/4 of a yard of fabric for the background and backing. So as you can see, mine's right here. 7 inches, 7 inches by the width of fabric for the binding, and you're going to need 3 pieces of those fabrics, or 3 pieces that are cut at 2¼ inch. You need a 22 by 22 inch piece of batting and a 1/4 yard of heat and bond light, or whichever is your favorite to work with. I happen to work a lot of times with heat and bond light. So anyway, and then you need 9 different assorted pinks and red fabrics that are approximately 9 by 9 inches. Decorative thread for your applique, and then also thread to match your background for the quilting. So as you can see, what I've done is, this is a great project. As you can see, this is a great project for going to your scrap bin. And believe me, I have a huge one, for you to be able to go and just pull out your pinks and reds, or maybe you're going to do a blue heart or a green heart, but just pick 9 or so different fabrics to use for the different pieces of your heart. So this is what I've picked. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron these, and then we're going to trace off our pieces onto our heat and bond light. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I have taken my pattern that has told us that this is the one that you need to use to trace your heat and bond light, or whatever your favorite fusible web is. This side has been reversed. So what that means is that these pieces are actually backwards to this one, for when you go and you lay out your pieces for your heart. So if you will notice, 3 is over here now instead of over here on the right. And this is going to allow you to make sure that the heart is going in the direction that the pattern is going. And you always want to make sure that when you're doing any kind of applique using fusible products or even just regular applique, you want to make sure that the pattern tells you if the pieces have been reversed or not. Because if they have not been reversed and you are tracing them and you go to lay them out, they'll be going in the opposite direction of the picture on the pattern. So always make sure that you look for that and find it. So I've taken care of that for you because this is the side that's been reversed. Okay, so that is number one. Number two, I'm actually using a light box here. It's by Daylight, and I really do love this one because I'm actually able to um, tone down the brightness of the light because when I first turned this on, you couldn't even see the pattern. So if you do not have a light box of some kind, then just go to your window and tape your pattern piece to the window, and then you're just going to draw it off. The other thing I want you to notice is that I have some spaces in here. These are not going to have fabric on them. We're going to allow the background piece to show through, the one that we're actually fusing our fabric pieces to. That's going to be coming in between here to give us the look of a heart that's broken. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The other thing is, let me see if I can get this closer for you all to see. The pieces have been numbered, and they've been numbered on not only your pattern piece that you're tracing, but they've also been numbered on the original so that you know exactly where that piece is going to go. So when you are tracing off your pieces onto your fusible web, be sure and put those numbers on there, because once you get everything cut out, it can be a little bit confusing to see all these pieces and you go, where does that go? So if you take the time to number them like the pattern pieces have been numbered, then it's going to be a lot easier on you later on down the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my heat and bond, and I want the paper side up, and you're going to do that with all of any kind of product that you're working with. You want to make sure that the paper side is up and that you are tracing the pattern piece onto the paper, because when you look on this other side, I don't know if you can see, you see how that's kind of shiny? This is the glue side, and so this is the one that we want to, that's going to go to the wrong side of our fabric when we get ready to iron it on. So just remember that you're going to be tracing on the paper side, and the stick and the kind of rough side is going to be your glue side, and that's going to be going onto the wrong side of your fabric. So what I'm going to do is I always like to trace mine off with a Sharpie because it just makes it a little bit easier on me. And first off, I'm going to put the number, and then I'm just going to trace. And I'm going to trace right along my and this, the thing about this heart is it doesn't have to be perfect, which is rather nice. And on these outside edges, I'm going to go right along the outside edge of my drawn line here. Okay, so there's piece number one. Okay, then we're going to come over here. This is two. So I will tell you, I kind of move things around because I can, and I do a lot of applique. So I want to make sure that I've got plenty of my Heat and Bond light. Okay, that's 2A. All right. And the thing is that what you want to do is you want to leave about 1/4 of an inch on each side of on the outside of the lines. And the reason that you're going to do that is because we're not going to cut on the line until after we have fused this to the wrong side of our fabric. So just to let you know about that. is 2B. And then I'm going to take this number 3 and I'm going to put him over here, right by our number 1 piece. And again, I want to leave space between these edges, okay? I've got this real long piece here for number 4. Here's number 5. So we'll move him up here into this position. Here's number 6. He's the outside of my heart, so we're just going to go right along that edge. There's 7. And last but not least, here's piece number 8. So he is whoops, forgot the 7. All right, so I have got, let's go back up, you can see a little bit better. There we go. So what I've done is I have traced all of these pieces onto my heat and bond. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut around these, and I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch around each piece. And then we're going to go and we're going to iron them onto our wrong side of fabric. Okay, so here I've cut out all of my heat and bond pieces. And as you can see, I left edges all the way around the lines that I've already drawn. And again, I'm going to show you why you're going to do that here in just a minute. You do not want to cut out on the lines until this has been ironed to the wrong side of your fabric. So now I've got all these little fun fabrics, and you know, I love this stripe. I think he's kind of cool. So we have that one. I think that's a great one. So the thing is that what you want to do is, if you're using a nice mix of fabrics, you probably want to kind of lay them out in a pattern that, you know, maybe putting them, let me slide this over so we can look at this a little better. So here is the main piece that you're going to be working with. And this is the one that is the one for laying your pieces out. So one is a pretty big piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay things out here, like maybe that guy can go up at the top. And I think this one of these stripes would be really cool for piece number 2A, and then pick a different one for 2B. And then 3 is a pretty big one. So let's see. I think that red's kind of fun. We can lay him out there. So really what you're going to be doing is you're just going to be playing and seeing how it looks. But the thing is, this is a scrappy project, and so it does not have to be perfect. And believe me, that is, I mean, we all have our things that kind of, oh, I better do this or I better do that. It doesn't have to be perfect. So you just want to make sure that if you have a fabric that you really love and you want to repeat it in here, then go for it. But the thing is, you just want to go and pull some of the fun fabrics. I think that one would be super fun. From your scrap bin, and let's start putting them together. So I kind of have an idea of what I want this to be in my head. So let me slide you guys out of the way. And then here is my little ironing mat and my little iron. So my first piece that I'm going to pick is I'm going to do number 1. And I really like this guy. I think he is a lot of fun. So, and because he's a batik, he really doesn't have a right or wrong side. So before we start ironing, I want to remind you all to please, please, please read the instructions on your heat and bond. And the reason that I'm saying that is because different fusible pieces have different requirements for the heat setting on your iron. So I can tell you right off the bat that Heat and Bond does not want a cotton setting on your iron, and it doesn't want steam. It wants to be at about a medium, which is like a 3 or a 4. If you go higher than its requirement of a medium setting, it will not stick, and you can, hit that and it just won't work. And then you're going to be going, oh, I hate Heat and Bond. Well, no, it's not really Heat and Bond's fault. It's the fact that maybe you forgot to read the instructions on the box that it came in, or the instructions that came with it. So please, please, before you do anything else, please make sure that you've read the fusible webs instructions and set your iron accordingly. So because I know this is Heat and Bond, I'm going to make sure that my setting on my iron is like at the medium. So I don't know if you can see that little dot, but there is a little dot there. So we're going to keep it at about the medium setting, not the high setting. And then the other thing I want you to realize is that, let me show you what I'm talking about here. Remember, we copied with this pattern here, and it has been reversed. So as you can see, it was perfect for here, but when I go and I look at this pattern, I'm going to say, wait a minute, I think I did something wrong. No, I didn't do anything wrong. This is going to go on the wrong side of our fabric. So here is our fabric. This is my wrong side. It's going to go on the wrong side, and I'm going to lay that on there. And because I'm using Heat and Bond, I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now my piece has been ironed to the wrong side of my fabric. So we're going to just let that sit aside and cool. And then we're going to find my 2A and 2B. Now, I think this stripe is so cool. And there's a couple of spots here, like look at this spot here. That's got that gorgeous red in there. And oh, look, my little piece will just fit in there perfectly. So the other one is the 2B, which there he is. And I think that one would really look kind of nice right here. something a little different. Or because I have that white background, I want to make sure that my piece that's going to be touching my white background, let me show you from the heart here. I've got this little point here that is right here on this piece, okay? So I want to make sure that whatever is going to be touching up here, because remember, all this is going to be background, I want to make sure that that piece is, that section is kind of dark. So maybe this little spot right here isn't perfect for him, but maybe this guy is right here because this will actually be down inside the heart itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, and here is my 2B, and it's going to sit right there. 1, 2, 3. And then my 2A one, I'm going to put him right here in that really gorgeous red. And I'm just going to lay him on there. 1, 2, 3. And now these guys are going to be set at cool. So here's the thing. You're going to do this with every piece of the pattern that you have cut out. And keep the layout handy so you can see exactly where it's going to go, and make sure that the pieces that are touching are different enough that they're going to show up off of your off of each other. Even though they're not touching, I still want them to have a nice balance. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what's next. So when you are cutting out your pieces, I'm actually, let me show you what I'm doing here so you can see. I'm actually taking my pieces and I'm leaving the heat and bond on, but I am just laying them on my pattern to make sure that I like the balance and how everything is going. The other thing that I wanted to tell you while I'm cutting is the reason that you leave a lip around the outside edge of your pieces is because you want to make sure that when you are cutting out your piece, that you have fusible web that goes all the way to the line or the edge that you've cut. If you cut on the line before you fuse it to the back, there's a very good possibility that you will not have the glue going all the way to the edge of your piece, and then it will have a tendency to lift up. So you want to leave the lip around the outside edge of your piece, and then you're going to come back and you're going to cut right on the line. The other thing I want to remind you is that when you are cutting out your pieces, it is easier for you to move your fabric. See how I'm moving my fabric? It's easier to move your fabric than twist your scissors. So you want to just start cutting, and then as you need to, you turn your fabric and just close your scissors, and then that way you're not fighting with your scissors. Okay, so let's just for funsies, we're going to sit here and put this on. So see now, there we go. So see how we're starting to put this baby together, even though the paper is still on the back of our pieces, and we'll take care of that here in just a few minutes. Okay, so here is my heart all laid out with all the different pieces. And I want to, I'm actually laying this out on the one that is for layout. And remember, that's listed up here at the top. Let me slide this down so you can see. So right there, this is the layout section. And so I do want you to notice that here is the center line for the horizontal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I can find it here. Okay, so I'm going to take my chalk pencil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little mark on this piece right here. Let me get closer so you all can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to put a mark here. That's where my horizontal line is going to be. And I'm going to put one right here. And the reason that I'm going to do that is I want to be sure that the edges of my heart are going to line up with my background piece. Now, I really don't need to do that here at the top and at the bottom because those are very definite pieces. Those points come, and so I know where that's going to be. So the first thing that I'm going to do is this. Here's my background fabric, and I've got it here. And I don't think I can get it up high enough for y'all to see, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to put the top edges together. And I'm going to give that a nice crease. And if I want to, I can actually do this, fold it in half again so I've got it in fourths. And I'm just going to hit that with the iron and I'm going to give it a nice crease. Okay. All right, so there I have my, whoops, pieces flying around here. There I've got my nice crease, both horizontally and vertically. And I want that because I want to be able to know where my pieces need to lay out. Okay, so as you can see, I have my ironing surfaces back here. And the reason that I divided my background piece into 4 even quadrants, I wanted to make sure that my heart is laying on there so that when I go and iron my fabric on, I'm not wondering if I'm too far at the top, too far at the bottom, exactly where everything is sitting. Now, I know this is a little bit difficult to see, but you are able to see the heart underneath the fabric. And truthfully, I'm going to tell you that's why I chose a light one so that I could see where I was. Here is my center line, both at the top and here at the bottom, and they are lined up beautifully with my heart piece there and my sides. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just take this and it's time to start removing the paper and putting it onto our fabric. So what we're going to do is you're going to give it like a little pinch right along the edge, and that'll pull the paper away but leave the fusible. See how you can see the shiny on the back of that fabric? It's going to leave that right there. And we're going to take that and we're just going to lay it on top of our fabric, just like that. And you can just see the outline. So he is right where he needs to be. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to count to 5. 5, and we're going to rotate over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so now he is stuck down there. Okay. Then we're going to go to piece 2A. And again, give it a little pinch. Pull that paper away, and he is going to sit right back here on that piece. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here's piece 2B. It's going to lay in here just like so. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Piece number 3. You always want to make sure that that shiny is all the way on the back, on the whole back. Because sometimes if you don't hit it just right, you will not have that covering all of the. Okay, there's my last piece. Righty. All right, number 4 is next. I think this would be really beautiful with a black background as well. A little short there. Let's go ahead and hit him with the iron again. Perfect. Piece number 5. Okay, so when I lay him out, I don't have as big a piece between this one or right here at this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my scissors. I'm going to cut away a little bit of that so I have a little bit bigger space. Him on there now. See what he's, I think that's better. We got this little chubby guy right here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come right here. And get rid of that piece as well. There we go. It's better. Have well, and I think this is coming together very nicely. I'm quite pleased. And then last but not least, oops, I shouldn't have moved that, should I? Should have moved my whole board here. There we go. And piece number 8. The point is down here where he's supposed to be, which is a good thing. But I've got a skinny little bit here, so let's go ahead and trim that. There we go, that's better. Okay. All right. Now, as you can see, let me see if I can. Got a couple of places here that it didn't adhere very well. So we're just going to go back and hit that again with the iron, but everybody else is laid down very nicely. So all right. Okay, so that's down, which is good. And then you don't have to do this, but sometimes I do it, especially when I have some spots that act like it's not adhering like I'd like it to. So I just flip my piece over and I go ahead and hit that side with the iron, and that kind of like pulls that glue back into towards my iron. So there we have it. Now, there we go. So our piece is all ready to go and be stitched down. Okay, so now that we've got everything stitched down, what we're going to do is we now stitched down, we've got it all ironed down. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to stitch it down. So you have lots of options as far as how to stitch down the edges of your pieces here. Some people like to do a blanket stitch, which is a great stitch for that. You can actually use a dark thread. Most of the time it's black. And what that stitch does is it actually outlines your edges and then does a little jump over into the fabric. And that really does secure that very nicely. The other thing that you're able to do is you're able to just do a straight stitch right along the edge of your piece. And you can do that in a matching thread so that it's not noticeable if you're a little bit wobbly and, don't have an exact amount from edge to inside of your piece. The other thing that you can use is you can use a really tiny little zigzag. And so I have to tell you that is normally what I like to use if I'm just really trying to secure that edge. And so I will actually use a skinny zigzag matching the fabric color that I am stitching on. So that then that way the whole piece just is shown very nicely and I'm not outlining anything for it to be seen. So for this one, I'm actually going to use the thread matching my fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is I always hold on to my thread and I pull up my bobbin thread so I know right where it is. So there it is. I'm going to reach under there and pull that up. Maybe. There we go. There we are. So I've got a hold of both of those. And then I want to start on the fabric first, and then I'm going to zig on and I'm going to zag off on the edge, and I have turned my stitch length down to about a 1 and my little zigzag is about 1.8. So let's see how that's going to work. See how it's just on and off, on and off. The only way that you would not have to stitch this down is if you used a non-sew fusible web. All right, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to turn. And see, as you can see, I mean, that is, you can hardly see that because that red thread matches my red fabric so perfectly. The other nice thing about this, when you're doing something like this, you're actually able to do all the ones that are the same color, so you're not having to switch the thread a lot. So here we're going to go and we're going to keep going here. Whoops, missed that guy. Bit of adjustment. I love my freehand system on my sewing machine because I don't have to stop and reach back here to raise and lower my foot. I just use my freehand system. And let me tell you, I use it a lot when I am working on my applique. Turn just slightly, and then it's going to be right there at the point. Okay. But you just want to zag off just a bit right off on the edge when you are stitching that. I'm going to pull my threads both over here to the side so I know right where they are. See, there they are. Just going to stitch right over those tails. All right, there we have it. So we're going to cut our tails, both top and bobbin. Sorry about the jiggle there. All right, then I'm going to pull those threads, not the ones I zigzagged over, but my two that are here. So this is my one that I stopped with. So I'm going to, I have this little needle that, see the notch in the needle? I don't know if you can see that up there on the, yeah, he's a little bit hard to see. There's actually a notch there at the top of that needle. There you can see it. And so what you do is you're just going to lay your thread in there and it pops down into there. And then we're going to take that and we're going to put it, you see where it is right there. I'm sticking that down, flipping that over. Let me slide this under so you can see it. There we go. Pull that up. And I'm going to tie that off in a square knot. Well, maybe I am. Things always act ornery when you are filming something. Okay, there we go. I'm going to clip that. Because we've stitched over the top of these guys, as you can see, they're right there. And this thread matches perfect, doesn't it? We're going to give that a nip. And so that guy is stitched down. So anything that has red in it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch that down now. So I'm going to come up here and stitch this guy. And then of course our beautiful red that's down here in position number 8. So that is how you actually stitch down your pieces. And then we will go ahead and we will get things quilted. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish stitching all of these down. Okay, so there is our heart and it's all stitched down, which is wonderful. Now all we have to do is it's time to layer with your batting and backing and quilt it the way you want. And also, once you've done that, then you can put your binding on and your project will be finished. So anyway, I hope that you enjoy this project. I think it's super fun and it is a great way to use up scraps. And so enjoy. Okay, so I have layered my fabric. So there's my batting's there, and I've layered that with my heart top. And so now what I'm going to do is I am going to actually stitch a quarter of an inch around my heart. And I'm probably going to wind up stitching down inside our little grooves here because I don't want this, because it is a wall hanging, I do not want the weight of these fabrics to pull the center of my little quilt top away from my batting and my backing. And I'm going to need a little bit more than just the stitching around the outside edge. So what I've done, let's see if I can get this moved over here so you can see. I've actually put on my walking foot. Let me turn my, here we go. Now you can see. I've actually put my walking foot on, which is going to make it a lot easier for me to quilt my project here. So now most walking feet have a mark. Grab this. Do you see this mark right here? There's a mark on this side and there is a mark on this side. And each one of those marks is a quarter inch away from the center needle position. So what I need to do is I'm just going to take my heart here and I'm going to line that mark up with my fabric pieces and I'm going to just stitch all the way around my heart. And then I'll go back in and I will actually stitch down inside here. And the thing is that I may go very closely. I just haven't decided yet. So what we're going to do is, let me make an adjustment here so I can actually see what I'm doing. And just like with when we were appliquing, we're going to pull up our bobbin thread so we know right where it is, because I don't want that bird's nest thing going on, you know, that's not ever nice. And as you can see, there's my little mark on my foot, and I'm just going to go along and I'm just going to run that right along the edge of my fabrics. Now we're going to play a little bit here because I want to stop at that point. We're going to stop. Let's, I think we better take one more stitch that direction. Okay. We're going to turn. Here we are. So see, there's my little mark again. A little adjustment here. Let's see if I turn back around this way. Yep, there's my little edge there. There's my threads. Okay, so now I've got a really nice, pretty close 1/4 inch stitch all the way around the outside of my heart. And now I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to stitch right along the edge of my pieces here, just so that I will actually have that stitching holding down the center of my heart, which is pretty important. So I'm just gonna back up a little bit here. Okay, let's cut that away. And we'll come back and bury those threads after a bit. All right, so we're going to start up here. Now, one of the ways that I like to lock my threads when I am quilting is I like to turn my stitch length down to like a 1. And then what I do is I will actually hit the reverse button, and you're going to see how tiny this stitch is. Then I'll move forward. Okay, so now that I'm here at the end, I'm going to go back to my really skinny little short stitch, and I'm going to do some reverse stitching right on top of the stitching I've already done. And then what that does is that's going to seal those stitches in place. And the nice thing is you can hardly see it because number one, it's white thread. You could use monofilament if you wanted to, but the thing is that now I know that as I go around each one of these pieces like this, that is going to secure and quilt the center of my heart to the rest of my batting and backing. So that is pretty important. And so I'm going to do that. And then we're going to come back and we'll do the crosshatch. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have stitched around all of my pieces. And I know that because when I flip this over, there I can actually see. There you go. I've got too much of a glare, I think. Look at there. Let's see. Is it going to show? There, that's a little better. Not great, but anyway. There, now you can see. You can see exactly where those pieces were. But the really nice thing is that now the center of my heart is secure. And now I'm just going to go and I'm going to actually, I don't think you can see this, but I actually have a wash away marker right here, and I'm going to stitch and do a cross hatch in both directions, and they're going to be about 1.5 inches, 2 inches apart. But this is going to be my first one, and I can actually walk outside of here because remember we're going to trim our little quilt sandwich down to 20 inches. Okay, as you can see, you can just see my little line that's right there. And I'm going to go ahead and quilt that. And then I'm going to show you how I use the uh, seam guides that click onto or click that screw onto my walking foot. So this is just going to be just a great quick and easy. This is going to be our cross hatching. And because we're going to trim that off, I'm not going to worry too much about uh, back tacking or anything like that. So there's my first stitch. And I'm just going to go ahead and go around and do all of them. Now, remember that I turn my stitch length down to like a 1, and I do a reverse stitch. I'm going to stitch back until I hit my little corner there, my little 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to go back to my regular 2.5 stitches. There it is. One more. All right, so I've got my first seam of my grid quilting. Now, most walking feet come with these seam guides. And the really nice thing about that is that you don't have to go and draw a bunch of lines. You're just going to put these onto your foot. So all I have to do is depending on, now notice you have them for both directions. Okay, let me slide that back there so you can at least see that. So the thing is that what you want to do is now on a Bernina, this little guy is what's going to hold it onto our foot. So I'm going to use the right one for right now, and I may switch to the left one in a bit. But what you do is this one goes right here, and it slides through to the other side. There we go. And then what you're going to do is I'm going to determine how wide I want from my stitch line to my needle. So if I decided I wanted to do a 2-inch grid, then I could actually take that and I would slide this over until my needle was here. Whoops, let me, there we go. So here would be my needle, and then I would line my seam guide up with that. So let me put my foot back on, and then we'll make the adjustment. So let me tighten that down just a little. There we go. Okay, so I really think 2 inches is too far. So let me pull this back so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so here's my needle. And I think 2 inches is going to be way too big because that would actually be way over here. So I think I'm going to make it 1.5 inches. So there is that. And we're just going to loosen that little screw on the back of that so I can slide this. So what I'm going to do now is, and that needs to come in just a hair more. Oh, not that much. Okay. I'm going to drop my needle. And that's at the 1.5 inches. So as you can see, my needle is right there at the 1.5 inch mark. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to put my foot, or my seam guide right here at the edge of my ruler. And then I'm going to reach back here and I'm going to tighten my little screw, and that's going to hold my seam guide. It's not going to allow it to slip around. Okay. Let me just make sure I've got that nice and tight so it doesn't walk on me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right back here. And as you can see, my seam guide is right on my stitching. I'm going to put my foot down because I'm going to do my little tack down to my stitching. Okay. And now all I have to do is watch and make sure my seam guide stays on my stitches. And so I'm going to do this crosshatch all over my entire piece here. And that way, it's really going to look nice because I will go in both directions.